That's a counterfeit. That's totally different. That's the first lie in Genesis. You can be like God. They say Jesus did that. He's a man who became God. And you, as a man, can become a God.
I think one of the most dangerous things in Christianity is confusion about who a Christian is. And this week, Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon sharply shortened a list of recognized religions for the chaplain corps. And they took the Mormon cult off the list of Christians, like Christianity, of denominations, and put it as a standalone religion, separate from Christianity. And then Senator Mike Lee, who has blocked you on X.
Yeah, he's a Mormon.
He doesn't like you. Because we told him he wasn't a Christian. He was in outrage. He even got on a call with President Trump last night. It is insane. Because Mormons need to be recognized as Christians, because it's there in the name, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, Pastor Mark, what's the deal with all this? Are Mormons Christians?
So this is where Mormons are. Do you want to go like deep?
Oh, yes, as deep as you want to go.
Okay, so Mormons are heavily invested and involved in American politics because their eschatology, which is their theology of what happens at the second coming of Jesus, they believe that Jesus Christ is returning to Missouri, that he's coming back to America. So we need to prepare America for the second coming of Jesus Christ. So this drives Mormons to be heavily patriotic nationalists.
Yeah, it serves politicians well.
Yeah, because this is the new Israel, and their religion cult was started in the 1800s in America. So their religion starts in America. Their books, their false books of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price, their false counterfeit books of the Bible from the 1800s were written in America. So their founders from America, their founding is in America. Their books of the quote-unquote Bible are from America, and they believe Jesus is coming back to America. So as they hear "Make America Great Again," they're like, yes, so Jesus can come back to Missouri.
100%.
So then
we've been to Missouri. Jesus is not going there.
No. He's not going back to Missouri, like he ever visited Missouri. But what happens then is they get heavily invested in politics, and they trend conservative. So now you've got a percentage of the Republican Party is devout Mormons. So this is where the politics and the theological, biblical debates come into kind of a conflict. And then some will say, well, let's not argue with Mormons because they're helpful for our political cause. They're nice neighbors. They're pro-family.
They're great at branding.
Yeah, they're great at brand, and you know, like they're pro-life. So they're politically, we tend to be on the same team. Biblically, we're on a completely different team. And the question is, are you a conservative Christian or are you a Christian conservative?
Yep.
If you're a Christian first and a conservative second, you're like, hey, we can't overlook the fact that this is a cult. If you're a conservative first and a Christian second, you're like, since it helps the conservative cause, let's not debate these issues. And so this is the tension point in dealing with Mormons, and it's a big deal for us here in Arizona.
Mike Lee's from Mesa. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now, the leading Republican candidate for governor and attorney general are devout Mormons. I mean, so this is what we deal with locally. So are Mormons a cult? Yes. And so the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, which is kind of the gold standard for, you know, the center of Christianity, said and listed Mormonism as a cult until you had Mitt Romney, who's a Mormon, running for president, and then Glenn Beck leverages the Billy Graham Association, the Evangelistic Association, to remove Mormonism as a cult from their official webpage. And all of that, again, is, are you a Christian conservative or are you a conservative Christian?
Yeah.
Where is your loyalty and priority? Today, I think Franklin Graham's granddaughter has got a multi-part series that she has done that's on the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association website, if memory serves me correct, debunking Mormonism. She did a really good job.
Yeah.
And so yes, Mormons have always been considered a cult. And there's a difference between a world religion and a cult. A world religion doesn't start with Jesus and Christianity in the Bible and doesn't pretend to be Jesus and the Christianity of the Bible. So like Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, they're not saying we're Christians. A cult starts in the orbit of Christianity and then deviates from Orthodox doctrine. So the Jehovah's Witnesses would be an example of a cult, and Mormonism would be an example of a cult. And so for Christians, I always like to say there's closed-handed issues and there's open-handed issues. The open-handed issues, Christians disagree about, and we're still Christians. The closed-handed issues, you have to believe these to be a Christian. And
one of the biggest things is
Trinity.
rejecting the Trinity.
The Trinity is, and so like there's Protestant, there's Orthodox, there's Catholic. There's a lot of things that we would disagree on in the open hand. All of us agree on the Trinity. One God, three persons, sharing all the divine attributes, co-eternal, equal, fully. Trinity. I pastor a church called Trinity Church. So all the Christians have always believed, and all the church creeds have always believed, and all the Christians that have ever made the decisions all agree there's one God, three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Mormons don't. That's a different God.
Yep.
To quote Paul, that's a different Jesus. So they have a different Bible, and they have a different God, and they're governed by a different spirit. So at the top of every Mormon temple, this is like a weird fun fact, you'll see an angel up there. That angel is the angel Moroni. It is believed that that angel showed up and gave the revelation that Mormonism would be the one true Christian church and denomination. The Apostle Paul prepared us for this in Galatians 1:8 when he says, even if we or an angel from heaven present a different gospel, let him be accursed. So Paul told us, he's like, angels, and it is an angel. It's a fallen angel. We call it a demon. And so literally showing as the spiritual authority over all the Mormon temples, they have a demon. That's what that is. It is a fallen angel that created a cult and deceived people into a different Jesus and a false gospel. And I'll go so far as to say, too, I know we got a resource, but I pulled up a quote. So Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism, in his first vision from November 1st, 1831, it has now been canonized as the preface to their false book of the Bible, Doctrine and Covenants. He says that God told him, quote, that his would be, quote, the only true and living church upon the face of the whole earth, with which I, the Lord, am well pleased. Your founder says, we're a cult. That's what he says.
It's crazy.
And I've got another one. The other passage is from 1838, and he says of all the existing churches and denominations in America at that time, he says that God told him, quote, for they are all wrong, and that, quote, all their creeds were an abomination in his sight, and that all the leaders were all corrupt. And so your founder says that all other Christians are a cult, and that his is the only real Christianity. So when we say, no, you're a cult, we are not doing anything but just agreeing with your founder that a line is drawn, and on one side are all the other Christians, and on the other side are the Mormons, and that one is a cult. So we're agreeing with your founder.
100%.
And then when they rebrand, and this is what cults do, they will rebrand, and then they'll try to present themselves as a Christian denomination. And that's deception.
Well, I had a question for you on that, because I've heard you talk about this, and again, I've not heard anyone else talk about this. So they're called the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Is it possible that this Jesus Christ is a demon, 100%. Not our Jesus?
Yeah. So Paul says, in Corinthians, so I think it's 2 Corinthians 11, he talks about a different Jesus. So demons will even use the name of Michael or Gabriel, the two named angels in the Bible. They'll use the names of Bible characters. I'll never forget. Wild story. You're like 29 now? I was probably a little younger than you. As a senior pastor, I'm in Seattle. We're getting a lot of people. We meet late at night. We kind of got this punk alternative rock goth church with candles meeting in the middle of the night. And, everybody's wearing black and, it was dark. And so we ended up getting a lot of punk rock guys and a lot of Wiccan girls, a lot of gals that were into witchcraft. And I'm talking full seance covens, like
So Candace was at your church. Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. Probably leading the women's meeting. So what happens is I'm meeting with this gal. She meets Jesus. She gets genuinely saved. She gets baptized. And then she starts talking about these dreams and visions and what she's seeing and hearing. And it was way off.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time I met with her and her husband. They had a baby. And he was an engineer, super logical, linear guy. And he came in, and she was rocking the baby like half asleep in the rocking chair. And the rocking chair was a few feet off the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So they called for a meeting with me.
Well, yeah.
He's like, we got to go meet with the pastor.
We need a Catholic priest or you.
Yeah.
Quick.
And so she said, oh, that's what my mom did. That's what my grandmother did. She grew up in a coven. Her mom and grandma literally were witches and ran a witchcraft store and did seances and cast spells. And she grew up there as a little girl. So she's like multi-generation witchcraft. But now she meets Jesus. She really does love Jesus. But there's these paranormal, supernatural things that are happening. And she's getting weird dreams and visions. And so I wouldn't recommend this, but I ended up having a conversation with them, and I asked her, who's showing you all this? Who's telling you all this? She says, well, Jesus. And she's talking about light and auras and all these things that are not in the Bible. I said, Jesus. And I looked at her and I said, to the highest ranking spirit that is controlling and working through this woman, you are bound in the name of Jesus Christ. I come as his servant. I come with his delegated authority. I command that you step forward and answer questions truthfully that'll stand as truth before the white throne judgment of Jesus Christ. To the highest spirit holding authority that is working in her life or speaking to her, what is your name? And she coiled up like a snake. Her husband was there. She looked like a different person, and with a male voice, she said, my name is Jesus.
Oh, gosh.
And my hair stands up on my arm now. And I said, to the highest ranking spirit speaking to and through this woman, are you Jesus Christ of Nazareth, born of the Virgin Mary? And it cackled and said, no, not that Jesus.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh.
And I mean, she starts crying. Her husband is mortified. I'm not saying she was demonically possessed, but she was oppressed. And this demon told this new Christian girl that it was Jesus. And it makes sense because Jesus says in John 8 that Satan is a father of lies. The Apostle Paul says that Satan comes masquerading like an angel of light. And so if you're going to be a liar and a deceiver, what better way to deceive people than tell them you're Jesus?
So it is possible that Joseph Smith met with a Jesus.
He met with a demon. He says that the demon's name was Moroni. And just as a, lighten the mood, any demon that shows up and their name starts with moron, you may want to what's your name? Moroni. Well, okay, I should have seen this coming. But yes, there are angels that are fallen angels that are demons, and they come with demonic power and deception. And that's where the Apostle Paul says there's counterfeit. He uses that language. He actually uses the word counterfeit. Counterfeit signs, wonders, and miracles. And he says to deceive the elect.
Yep.
So what is happening here is counterfeit Christians with a counterfeit Christ and a counterfeit spirit and counterfeit scriptures are deceiving Christians into thinking that it's a kind of Christianity.
So I think that I have met so many of the kindest people in the world that are Mormons.
Some of the nicest people go to hell.
And they are so confused. They believe I'm deceived.
They have been brainwashed.
How do we minister to them? Like it's a struggle.
Well, we've got a resource.
We sure do.
And it is, first and foremost, you've got to get to the point where you understand what their religion actually teaches, because oftentimes they don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
And also, you've got to press down to define terms. So what always happens with cults, they'll use Christian words, but they'll change the definition and the term. And so, like, I was dealing with somebody from the Unification Church on a college campus, like in the late 80s. I was debating them. And they said, we believe in the Trinity. I said, what is the Trinity? They said, faith, hope, and love. That's not the Trinity. The Trinity is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And so they'll use the word. So they'll be like, we believe Jesus is God. Do you believe he's eternally God? No, he's a created being. He's not the creator God. He's a man who became God. We believe Jesus is fully God and fully man. Okay. Do you believe he was God that became a man? No, we believe he's a man who became God. Okay, that's a counterfeit. That's totally different. That's the first lie in Genesis. You can be like God. They say Jesus did that. He's a man who became God. And you, as a man, can become a God. And so functionally, they're definitely polytheists. They're not even monotheists. They don't believe in one singular God. But you got to drill down into the language and you got to see what it is that they're defining their terms as. So you got to do your homework.
So you have to help them deconstruct it a bit.
Yes.
To reconstruct.
So the hardest part with leaving Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnessism, or any other cult is not the theological, it's the relational. Because if you leave, so like here we are in Arizona, and there's a lot of Mormons here. You work for a Mormon employer. Your kids maybe go to a Mormon school. Your extended family are all Mormons. They're all connected to some ward or temple, meaning if you leave, that cuts off all of those relationships. You'll lose your job. Your kids got to leave the school. Your family may disown you. And so in addition to the theological, there's the relational, and it's the relational that is the more difficult when you're trying to love someone who is in a cult to leave it. Because it's like, well, I do believe that I'm in, they have a different Jesus, but my grandma is going to die and I'll never be able to talk to her again. And I love my grandma. That's where the hard pain of the ministry starts and that's where Jesus says, to hate your mother and father. And that word in the Greek text, it means to prioritize love of God over love of family. And when the family's like, if you actually walk with Jesus, we're going to walk away from you. Then to truly be a Christian, sometimes it costs you your relationship with your father and mother, and it's devastating. It's horrifying. And then you're cut out of the family inheritance. I mean, there's all these practical things that just crater your life. And this is why when people leave a cult, sometimes they actually got to move somewhere, because the community has so ostracized and rejected them that it can no longer function as a home for them.
Yeah, Islam is the same way. Mormonism.
Hardcore Hindu families and sometimes Muslim families, speaking of religions instead of cults, if you convert to Christianity, they will hold a funeral and the family will consider you dead.
It's wild. That is wild.
Yeah.
Gosh. For those of you out there that are not confused about it yourself, but you want to be armed at a deeper level and be able to have these conversations and feel like you have some ammo in your gun to have these discussions, we wrote a resource, the Real Faith Team, Are Mormons Christians? The 10 Irreconcilable Doctrinal Differences Between Mormonism and Christianity. So for anyone that wants to fight us and get angry at us and say we're so unloving, it is a cult. It is 100% not Christianity. And there's a book defending it and clarifying it and walking you through the differences. And if you want this, you can just text Mormon to 99383. We'll send you this for free. Nothing we need from you, but we would love for you to know what we believe and what the Bible believes about this false religion, this cult that is leading people straight to hell.
In that as well, just to give you an insight on the resource, we're not speaking ill of them, we're just echoing them. We let them speak for themselves. And there is a simple chart in there that just says, here's what Christians believe, here's what Mormons believe, to sort of summarize the differences.
Yep, 100%. It's a great resource. Would recommend you reading it. If you have any questions or you have any Mormons in your life, this will help you.
Thank you very much for watching. And if you do me a solid, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll get you lots more Bible teaching content.